Last summer, I pulled 47 pounds of tomatoes off 2 plants in a 4x4 raised bed. 2 plants. And the only thing I fed them, the only thing, was something I used to throw straight in the trash every single morning with my coffee. Here's what's strange. The big fertilizer companies have known about this since the 1950s. There's a USDA bulletin from 1946 that names this exact amendment as a top-tier potassium source for tomatoes. Then, it disappeared from the recommendations. Quietly, and it never came back. Stick around to the end, because I'm going to share the one timing trick Gloria taught me that doubles the effect again. Most folks pour this stuff in at the wrong moment and waste 80% of what's in it. Here's the paper trail. There's a USDA publication called Farmer's Bulletin No. 1923, the 1946 revision, titled Composting for Home Gardens. I found it scanned in a state ag library archive a couple years back. And right there, in the section on potassium amendments for solanaceous crops, that's tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, dried banana skin is listed, ranked top tier, right alongside wood ash and seaweed. Now look what happens next. By the 1955 USDA Home and Garden Bulletin Series, that's the next big push of home gardening guidance the Cooperative Extension System put out, the kitchen scrap potassium amendments were gone. Just gone. In their place, you get standardized recommendations, 5-10-10, 10-10-10, bagged synthetic NPK, the stuff you still see at every hardware store today. The timing isn't an accident. Between 1946 and 1955, the Cooperative Extension System, that's the joint USDA and land-grant university network that writes the home gardening guidance most county agents still repeat, quietly rewrote the playbook. The Saskatchewan potash mines were coming online between 1953 and 1958. Carlsbad, New Mexico, same window. Suddenly, there was a commercial industry that needed home gardeners to buy bags. So here's what that costs you. The average backyard tomato grower today is paying somewhere between $30 and $60 a season on synthetic fertilizer to chase yields a 1946 home gardener was getting from a banana peel and a quart of water. That's the stake. That's what got written out. I want to be honest with you. This isn't conspiracy. I don't think anyone sat in a smoke-filled room. It's a paper trail. The recommendations changed. The reason the recommendations changed is also on paper, and the banana peel didn't make the cut. All right, let's get into it. The amendment is a banana peel. That's it. The thing you peel off your banana every morning and either compost or throw in the trash without thinking about it. Here's what I do. I keep a small glass jar by the coffee maker. Every morning the peel goes in there with my coffee grounds. Then, once or twice a week, I lay the peels out on a cheap mesh screen, the kind you'd put over a window. And I let them dry for 5 to 7 days until they're brittle. You'll know they're ready when they snap instead of bend. They look like dark leather strips. Then, I take a pair of kitchen shears and I chop them into pieces about the size of a postage stamp. Toss them in a quart jar with a lid. That's my supply. When I plant a tomato seedling, I dig the hole the way I always do, but before the seedling goes in, I drop 2 to 3 of those dried, chopped peels into the bottom of the hole, about 4 inches below where the root ball will sit. I scoop a handful of native soil over them, mix it in a little, then plant the seedling on top. 2 minutes, $0. And this is the part the standard advice column won't print, because it can't be packaged into a bag with a guaranteed analysis on the label. Now, why does it work? Here's the chemistry, because I think this matters. A dried banana peel is roughly 42% potassium of its mineral content. That's by dry weight ash basis, not the whole peel. It also carries a meaningful load of phosphorus and a real dose of calcium. 3 things in one scrap you use to throw away. Tomatoes are among the heaviest potassium feeders in the home garden. Potassium drives flower set. It moves sugar into the fruit. It builds the plant's resistance to disease late in the season when everything else is failing. If your tomatoes have ever set a ton of flowers and dropped them or sized up nice fruit that tasted like cardboard, potassium, was probably the missing piece. The calcium does its own job. Calcium is what prevents blossom end rot, that black sunken patch on the bottom of an otherwise beautiful tomato that breaks your heart in July. Most folks reach for a calcium spray. The peel was already handling it. The phosphorus rounds it out for root development and fruiting. This is why the suppression couldn't fully kill it. The chemistry is real. Home gardeners who already knew kept doing it, kept telling their neighbors, kept passing it down. And the knowledge survived in kitchens and on balconies even after the bulletins stopped printing it. You can't bag a banana peel, but you also can't make people forget what works. All right, let me show you what this actually looks like in a small space, because this is where it stops being theory. Last summer, I put 2 Cherokee purple seedlings in one of the 4x4 raised beds in my Sacramento backyard. 2 plants. The bed had ordinary native clay loam I'd been amending with worm castings for a couple of seasons. No bagged fertilizer. At transplant, each plant got 2 to 3 dried chopped peels 4 inches below the root ball, the way I just described. That was the only feeding I did until the first flower truss opened. Once flowering started, I switched to a weekly banana peel tea, and I'll walk you through that exact recipe in a minute, because Gloria's timing on that is the part that doubles everything. I weighed every harvest on the digital kitchen scale on my back patio. I do this for the camera, but honestly, I do it for myself too, because numbers don't lie. Across the whole season, those 2 plants put up 47 pounds of tomatoes from a 4x4 bed from a kitchen scrap. And this isn't a one-off. Gloria, my friend up in San Francisco, retired teacher, gardens entirely on a 5th-floor balcony, has been growing container tomatoes on this exact method for more than 20 years. 5-gallon fabric grow bags, 1 indeterminate plant per bag, banana peel at planting, peel tea on a timing schedule, year after year. So this isn't theoretical. It's 2 plants in a kitchen scrap, which, again, is exactly the kind of thing that doesn't fit on a fertilizer label. Now, I want to be honest with you, because most folks who try this for the first time get a modest result and assume the whole thing was overhyped. There are 3 specific places people go wrong, and I went wrong on all of them at different points. Number 1, and this was my 2019 mistake, burying fresh whole peels straight into the planting hole. Don't do this. A wet, fresh peel rots anaerobically in moist soil. It goes slimy, it stinks, it attracts fruit flies, and it actually pulls nitrogen out of the surrounding soil while it tries to break down. That smelly compost year I had? Same problem on a bigger scale. Dry the peels first. Always. Number 2, using peels from heavily sprayed conventional bananas without rinsing them. I'm not going to make a big speech about pesticide residue, but a 30-second hot water rinse before you set the peels out to dry costs you nothing. Just do it. Number 3, making the tea too strong. More than 3 peels per quart of water creates osmotic stress at the root zone. You'll see the lower leaves go pale yellow and brown along the edges within about a week. People panic and assume it's a deficiency. It isn't. You overdosed. 3 peels per quart is the ceiling, and that's exactly why the standardized recommendations couldn't carry this forward. It required the gardener to pay attention, to dry the peel, to rinse it, to get the ratio right. You can't print a bullet point on a hardware store bag that says, "Pay attention." That's not a product. So, it disappeared. Now, if what I just showed you is making sense, and you're starting to realize you've been throwing potassium straight in the trash every morning, I want to point you to something. I wrote a guide called The 30-Day Kitchen Scrap Garden Protocol. It's $17 at backyardbuddybooks.com. Chapter 6 is called Composting in Small Spaces, and it lays out the full closed-loop scrap-to-soil-to-tomato system, including how to fold banana peels into a small worm bin or a bokashi bucket if you're working from an apartment with no yard. There are line art diagrams for both setups in there. If you're watching on your TV, grab your phone and point it at the QR code on screen. If you're on your phone or laptop, The link is in the description. Take a second, I'll wait right here. No rush. It's all right. Let me come back to the why, because I think this matters. After World War II, the United States had a massive ammonium nitrate manufacturing capacity that had been built for munitions. Between 1946 and 1948, those plants pivoted to civilian fertilizer. They had to put the output somewhere. Then between 1953 and 1958, the big potash mines opened up. Saskatchewan in Canada, Carlsbad in New Mexico. And now you had a synthetic NPK industry sitting on enormous supply with no guaranteed market. The cooperative extension system was the obvious channel. Extension is funded jointly by the USDA and the land-grant universities, and the land-grant universities took industry research grants. They still do. The recommendations followed the funding. Standardized NPK products sold by the bag at every hardware store. Those could be researched, ranked, and recommended in a way a banana peel never could. A banana peel cannot be packaged. It cannot be branded. It cannot be shelved or scanned at a register. So it got written out. Not banned, just dropped from the recommendations. I want to be honest with you about the counter-argument, because most online videos about this skip past it. Nobody at USDA in 1955 sat in a smoke-filled room saying, "Destroy the banana peel." That's not what happened. The mechanism was duller than that. Standardization served the commercial scale. Industry funded the research. The recommendations followed. That's it. And it's worse than a conspiracy because there was no one person to blame. Here's what it cost you, though. If you've been buying tomato fertilizer for the last decade, you've spent somewhere between $300 and $600 on a problem your kitchen trash was already solving. Gloria has a saying about this. The cheapest fertilizer is the one already in your hand. Which brings me to the timing trick. This is the piece most folks who try the banana peel method miss. They dump the peel in at planting, they pour tea on the soil at random points all summer, and they get a real but modest bump. They wonder why it isn't doing more. Here's why. Tomato potassium uptake doesn't spike until the first flower truss opens. Apply potassium during early vegetative growth, and somewhere around 80% of it is wasted, either leached below the root zone before the plant can pull it, or shunted into excess foliage that competes with future fruit set. Gloria's signal is simple. Wait for the first yellow flower on the lowest truss, not one day before. Once you see that flower, start the weekly tea, 3 peels steeped in 1 quart of room temperature water for 48 hours, strained, applied at the drip line, not at the stem. Repeat every 10 to 14 days. Stop when the top truss has set fruit. That's why my 47-pound bed worked when my earlier banana peel attempts didn't. The mechanism was right. The timing was wrong. And this kind of plant-watching, attentive timing is exactly what couldn't fit on the back of a fertilizer bag. Now you know what got written out of the recommendations. If you want the next step, taking this trick out of a raised bed and into a 5-gallon fabric grow bag on a balcony or a patio. Chapter 4 of the 30-Day Kitchen Scrap Garden. Protocol is called Container Gardening on Zero Budget. It walks you through growing tomatoes, potatoes, ginger, and sweet potatoes in containers using free or near-free materials. There are 3 line art diagrams in there for container cross-sections, drainage setup, and potato hilling. This is the guide I wish I'd had 10 years ago when I was killing tomato plants in my Portland apartment. It's at backyardbuddybooks.com. If you're on the big screen, scan the QR code with your phone. If you're already on your phone, tap the link in the description. Go ahead and pull that up. I'll give you a second. So that's the story. Banana peel, buried at planting, brewed into tea once the first flower opens, applied weekly through fruit set, turned a 4x4 bed and 2 Cherokee purple plants into 47 pounds of tomatoes with no bagged fertilizer in sight. Now you know what they wrote out of the recommendations. Next week I'm going to show you the same kind of paper trail on coffee grounds. Until next time, keep growing your own food, my friend.